Have you ever been curious about how much your favorite YouTubers actually make? Or how someone can even sustain themselves with this type of job? I didn't even know being a YouTuber could be someone's actual job. You know what? I've never even thought about them being real people. Kinda like how you go home after school realizing your teacher isn't an NPC and actually has a life of their own? Bro, am I even real? Being from a Filipino background with parents who have very high expectations, you only have a few choices in life. Being a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, or if you didn't want to be any of those,
a homeless.
Well, gee, I don't want to be homeless, so I guess I gotta choose, huh? What is the easiest, quickest medical field job that makes lots of money? Growing up, I felt pressured to follow what my parents wanted for my future, and I know other second-generation immigrant kids, or just kids with super strict parents in general, can relate. Especially when your immigrant parents are constantly telling you about how hard they had to hustle to escape their country, to give us our privileged life of being able to afford to go to college, and how we should be grateful because we didn't have to row ourselves in a bucket at 5 years old to get to school 2 hours away from home. Being so young, you just trust everything that your parents say. So if they say that being an artist will get me ending up on the streets, then of course I would believe that. Surely they knew better than me because they lived through a lot more than I have. Because I didn't want to be homeless, I made sure to do everything I thought I had to. I became a stinky, overachieving nerd in high school who took all AP classes and even studied at a second high school, which was my medical academy. Yes, I attended 2 high schools as if going to one wasn't traumatic enough. During high school, I worked in hospitals as a medical assistant, doing pretty crazy things like observing surgeries, assisting at clinics, and basically just overworking myself. Working at that hospital was so traumatic. I experienced things I don't think any sensitive, mentally ill high schooler should have, but that could be a whole video on its own. Basically, I sacrificed a normal high school life like going to school dances or simply having lunch with my friends so I could secure my future. But looking back, I never sacrificed time for art and drawing. No matter how tired I was or how much I needed to study for my exams, I always somehow made time to draw. Drawing is and always has been one of my greatest joys in life from the moment I became sentient up to now. It's one of the only times I feel true fulfillment and happiness. When I was younger, I would draw a lot of funny comics, daydream about my original characters and their lore, and create those YouTube speed paints and art tutorials with nightcore background music. But I never thought to pursue art as a career. That was never an option in my mind because my dad always threatened to financially cut me off and not support me if I were to ever try. I also never sacrificed time for playing games. Games like the sponsor of today's video, Azure Lane. Brought to you by Yostar, Azure Lane is a free-to-play naval warfare game where the warships you battle with are actually cute anime girls. Cute anime girls with big riggings! Azure Lane combines a mix of 2D side-scrolling tactical warfare and badass hot warship waifus to bring you a unique and captivating gameplay experience. With over 300 collectible ship girls, you can assemble your warship dream team and fight alongside them as their commander to break through intensive enemy gunfire to defeat them. Azure Lane is also currently celebrating their 6th anniversary event, Windborne Steel Wings, where these beautiful new ship girls are available for players to obtain. 10 new skins that belong to the Wild West and swimsuit series are also waiting for players to grab during the event, along with a new Frontier Saloon-themed furniture set available in the shop, a 6th anniversary Lucky Barrel, and a bunch of other rewards waiting for you to grab. So don't wait any further. Azure Lane is available for download on both iOS and Android. Click the link in the description to jump straight into battle and start leading your fleet into victory. Thank you, Azure Lane, for sponsoring today's video. I remember telling my friends that once I graduate high school, I won't be able to draw anymore, and it'll be time for me to grow up and start focusing on my career. But whenever I said things like that, deep down, I knew a part of me wasn't gonna let this happen.
Be a nurse? Are you kidding? Can you really see yourself living like that for the rest of your life? But if we have financial stability, we'll be happy. Maybe we'll even have time to draw sometimes. Money doesn't always mean happiness. Being a nurse or a doctor or whatever, you'll be tired all the time. But you don't know what the future will be like, or if we'll have enough time or money, or you only have one life. Can you really say you won't have regrets when we're old?
So I ended up going to college for a field called speech and language pathology, or simply speech therapy. For those who don't know, speech therapy treats people with speech or language delays or disorders or swallowing disorders and helps them speak as clearly as possible or learn other ways to communicate to the best of their abilities. I got a little bit of experience while I was in my medical academy, and I really tried to believe that, maybe playing Mr. Potato Head with kids while teaching them how to speak isn't so bad. It was rewarding at times and relaxing for the most part, so maybe I would even have energy to do art on the side. I graduated college and went on to pursue my master's degree in graduate school. But before I started school again, I spent my summer like everyone else, binge watching whatever was entertaining on YouTube at the time. And this is when I happened to stumble on the YouTube animation community. I started spending more and more time enjoying lots of this type of content from so many different creators that eventually I felt inspired to try making my own storytime video. I never thought to pursue content creation as a consistent creator or even grow my channel at all. I really just wanted to make a hee hee ha ha story for myself that I can always laugh at later and send to the homies. But as time went on and I started making more stories for fun, I realized more and more people started watching my videos. And my channel started growing and growing and growing. I started getting hundreds of comments and deep heartfelt messages about how my stories were making people laugh in ways they've never laughed before, or how they cheered them up in their lowest times, or how much I've inspired so many people. My channel eventually got monetized and I started getting sponsorship offers. And for the first time, I started to truly feel proud and motivated to work hard for something. And then I was faced with reality again. Summer flew by and grad school was in a couple of days. I wouldn't have time to do YouTube or draw. It was time for me to grow up. I knew it would be very difficult to balance life as a content creator while also being in a graduate program where I had to study and work even harder than before. I kept thinking, maybe it is possible. I mean, the Amazing did it, but even he expressed to me that although it is possible to balance both, it's really difficult. And he was right. It really didn't take long for me to crash and burn. I became exhausted working on YouTube videos and exhausted from working as a student speech therapist. And at some point, I just couldn't keep up with my job properly and became more and more overwhelmed. Also, before anyone says that playing Mr. Potato Head with kids is easy, why are you complaining? Okay, my job was a lot more complex than Mr. Potato Head. I just didn't want to bore you guys with a medical lecture or terminology. Speech therapy is a lot more complex and I just don't want to get into it. But if you've worked around kids or been around kids, you also know that shit is tiring. I would get reprimanded a lot by my supervisor for not performing up to standard or being quick enough or quick thinking. And normally someone in my position would be like, okay, got it. I'll work on the things I need to improve on so I can be better. But that wasn't the case. Despite being told all those discouraging things about not being good enough, I really didn't care about what she was saying. The crazy thing was, I didn't even want to improve. This was never my dream. This was never my passion. I kept trying to tell myself it was for years, but it was all just to cope with the fact that my parents didn't give me a choice to do anything else. All I felt was guilt that I wasn't giving 100% to these children who really needed help. This was no longer school where I could just half-ass my schoolwork and just study enough to pass, because now other lives were being affected by my choices. So now what? Do I choose the path that gives me a secure future but leaves me with no time to do what makes me happy? Or do I choose my passion that's starting to succeed right now with opportunities flowing in but has an unknown future with no promise of stability? Do I have to choose between the two? I got home, dramatically cried in my shower for hours, and then I sat down in front of my laptop to take one last look at my YouTube channel, just staring at it, hoping for some kind of sign to tell me what to do. And then, without thinking any deeper, I ended it. I dropped out of school. I sent this email, then sat on the floor of my room in just pure shock. Like, I couldn't believe what I just did. In my head, I didn't feel a weight lifted off of my shoulders. I felt like I just wasted years sacrificing my normal high school life, 4 years of college, and my whole life all the way up until now. I had also just done the unthinkable and made the very decision my parents threatened to cut me off for. All I could really think to do was call my parents in a panic to get whatever horrors were waiting for me over with. My parents answered and I immediately start melting down and saying, "I did something really bad, I'm so sorry, I didn't know what else to do, I couldn't take it anymore, it was really hard."
Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? Pregnant? Pregnant?
What? No! I dropped out of school. I'm sorry. I tried my best. I really tried my best. But for the past few years, I've become really unhappy and stressed out, and I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Is that it?
What do you mean, is that it?
Oh my God, you scared us. We thought you're pregnant. Of course, we push you to be in the medical field because we're your parents and we don't want you to struggle for money. But in the end, it's your life. If you're not happy, then don't do it.
Was it really this easy all along? I mean, they did give me a whole lecture about needing a plan for what I should do next, but surprisingly, they were accepting. And I don't know what suddenly changed them to be understanding of my decision. Maybe it's because they initially thought that my scary bad news was that I somehow became pregnant, which made the shock of me dropping out way less impactful. Or maybe it's because they felt really bad thinking about how much emotional turmoil I was going through. In the end, I'm just grateful that they were understanding. I know that my parents really just wanted the best for me so that I wouldn't suffer and struggle as much as they did. So more than regretful or resentful, I'm grateful that I found the courage to follow my own dreams and my own path. And who knows, maybe I wouldn't have found the courage to do so if I didn't experience all that I did. As cliche as it is to say, you only live once. You really do only have one life. And I wanted to start living it for myself. Of course, I have to work harder than ever before to navigate this new path in life, while also thinking about other career options I can pursue, because having a plan B is always important, guys. Don't go telling your parents I told you to quit school. I still get random existential crises and have intrusive thoughts that I'm failing in life compared to my peers, but I'm trying not to be so hard on myself and just take life one day at a time and just be proud that I'm doing my best in all the ways that I can and living for my own happiness. Have you ever experienced dropping out of school or struggled to figure out what you wanted to do? I'd love to read other people's experiences or even advice in the comments. It feels really nice to not feel alone, and I hope others out there can also feel just a little bit better to know that you're not alone and we're all just living life for the first time.